You know what they say about poking sleeping bears? Well, apparently nobody told the Galactic Council that humans make bears look like cuddly pets. My name is Vex, and I used to think I was pretty smart. Used to think a lot of things. Actually, like how the Council knew what they were doing. Like how humans were just another primitive species we could push around. Boy, was I wrong. It all started 3 cycles ago in the Grand Chamber of the Council. Picture the most pompous room you can imagine, then multiply that by 1,000 floating seats arranged in perfect circles, holographic displays showing off our superior technology, and enough ego to power a small moon. The human delegation has arrived, announced Cray, our head of alien relations. His 4 eyes rolled in what we all recognized as barely concealed disgust. They are requesting audience for the 20th time this cycle. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not the good kind, the kind that makes your skin crawl, if you happen to have skin like I do. Let them in, said High Counselor Zolt, his tentacles writhing with amusement. I could use some entertainment. The humans walked in like they owned the place. 5 of them looking ridiculously small compared to the rest of us. Their leader, a woman named Maya, had these eyes that should have been our first warning. Cold, calculating. The kind of eyes that belonged on a predator, not prey. Honored counselors, Maya began, her voice steady despite being surrounded by beings that could crush her without thinking twice. We come once again to discuss the mining rights on Kepler 42b. Yes. Zolt's voice dripped with mock concern. Your little colony world. Such a shame about the incident. Incident. That's what they called it. As if wiping out an entire human settlement was just some minor clerical error. Maya's jaw tightened. 30,000 civilians died when your mining consortium decided our agricultural domes were in the way of their operations. Regrettable, said Counselor Rex, not sounding regretful in the slightest. But surely you understand, the greater good requires sacrifice. Your species will adapt. Adapt. The human next to Maya, someone called Jake, took a step forward. You murdered children, families. People who had done nothing wrong except try to make a living on a world we legally colonized. More laughter from the council. I remember thinking how brave these humans were, standing there demanding justice from beings who could atomize their entire world with a thought. Brave, or incredibly stupid. Legally? Nix, our trade representative, practically wheezed with mirth. Oh, that's rich. You signed those colonization papers when you barely understood hyperspace travel. Cute little contracts from cute little primitives. Maya's hands clenched into fists. Those contracts were ratified by this very council. They are binding under galactic law. Laws change, Zolt said dismissively. Evolve. Much like species do. Some adapt, some don't. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. I watched the humans exchange glances, some silent communication passing between them. Later, much later, I would realize we were watching them decide our fate. We demand compensation for the lives lost, Maya pressed on, reparations for the families destroyed, and guaranteed protection for our remaining colonies. Demand? Rex's laugh was like grinding metal. You demand? From us? Listen carefully, little humans. Zolt leaned forward, his massive form casting shadows over the delegation. You are barely more than bacteria in the galactic ecosystem. You have been spacefaring for what? 50 of your year. We have been building empires while your ancestors were discovering fire. Your greatest achievement, added Cray with genuine amusement, is not killing yourselves with your own primitive weapons. And even that's debatable. Maya stood straighter. We may be young, but we are not going anywhere. This galaxy is our home too. Your home? Nix gestured grandly at the chamber around them. This is our galaxy, human. You exist here because we allow it. You expand because we permit it. And when we decide you have outlived your usefulness. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Jake stepped closer to Maya. And if we refuse to accept that? The silence that followed was deafening. Then Zolt began to laugh. Not the polite chuckle he'd been using, but genuine, deep belly laughs that shook his entire frame. What are you going to do? He gasped between fits of laughter. Fight us? You and what army? Your little tin can ships? Your chemical rockets? Your quaint kinetic weapons? You have exactly 47 worlds under human control, Rex added, consulting his datapad. We have oversight of 14,000. Your entire military consists of what? A few hundred ships. We have fleets that would blot out your sun. Maya's voice remained steady, but there was something new in it now. Something cold. Numbers aren't everything. In this case, they are. Zolt dismissed her with a wave. Return to your worlds, little humans. Be grateful we let you keep them. Push us too hard and you might find yourself joining your friends on Kepler 442b. The humans stood there for a long moment. I could see the calculation in their eyes, the weighing of options. Finally, Maya nodded curtly. We understand, she said. Good. Zolt settled back in his seat. Send our regards to your, what do you call him? President, Premier, Chief of your pack? Secretary General, Jake said quietly. Right, tell him the Council appreciates his species' cooperation in this matter. The humans turned to leave, but Maya paused at the entrance. Counselor Zolt? Yes, little human. You should remember something about my species. We are very good at adapting. With that, they left. And like the idiots we were, we celebrated. Well, that was easier than expected, Rex commented, already turning his attention to other matters. Humans? Nick shook his head with amusement. All bark, no bite. I should mention something about my own species. We Claxians pride ourselves on our analytical abilities. Pattern recognition, threat assessment, strategic planning. It's what made us valuable to the Council in the first place. So why didn't I see it coming? Maybe because we were too busy congratulating ourselves on how cleverly we'd handled the human problem. Maybe because we'd grown so comfortable in our dominance that we forgot what desperation could drive intelligent beings to do. Or maybe because we fundamentally misunderstood what humans meant by adapting. The first sign something was wrong came 6 months later. Cray burst into the council chamber during our regular session, his usual composure completely shattered. The Vorthan mining facility on Sigma Draconis has gone dark, he announced, his 4 eyes wide with panic. Define dark, Zolt said, not bothering to look up from his reports. I mean dark as in not there anymore, Cray replied. The entire asteroid installation, gone, vanished, like it never existed. That got Zolt's attention. Elaborate. Our reconnaissance drones found nothing but empty space where a massive mining operation should be. No debris, no energy signatures, no survivors, just nothing. Rex frowned. Equipment failure, catastrophic explosion? That's what we thought initially, until we received this. Cray activated the main display, and suddenly we were looking at a human face. Not Maya this time, but someone new. A man with graying hair and scars that suggested he'd seen combat. Greetings, Galactic Council, the human said with a smile that made my scales crawl. My name is Admiral Sam Torres, representing the newly formed Human Defense Initiative. Already I didn't like where this was going. By now you have discovered the fate of your mining facility in the Sigma Draconis system. Consider this a demonstration of our adaptive capabilities. The Admiral's smile widened. You see, counselors, you taught us something very valuable during our last meeting. You taught us that in this galaxy, might makes right, that the strong take what they want from the weak. He leaned closer to the camera. Thank you for the lesson. We have been very good students. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. That's impossible, Rex sputtered. Humans don't have the technology to destroy an entire asteroid base. Their weapons are primitive, their ships are slow, their tactics are apparently evolving. I interrupted, my analytical mind already working through the implications. The question is how? Zolt's tentacles were writhing with barely contained rage. Send a fleet to their nearest colony. Show them the price of defiance. Already tried, Cray said miserably. Fleet Admiral Vorth took a battle group to the Proxima Centauri system 3 days ago. We lost contact with them yesterday. Lost contact. How? The same way we lost contact with the mining station. One moment they were there, the next, Cray made a gesture indicating complete absence. I felt something I hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. Summon the human delegation, Zolt commanded. Now, sir. Intelligence suggests they are no longer on Council space. All human diplomatic staff evacuated their embassies simultaneously, 48 hours ago. Evacuated to where? Unknown. Their ships vanished from all tracking systems. Zolt's color shifted to a deep purple. indicating extreme agitation.
Find them?
Find them! Find them now! But we couldn't find them. Over the next few weeks, we tried everything. Long-range sensors, hyperspace tracking, even hiring independent bounty hunters. The humans had simply vanished, which made it all the more shocking when Maya reappeared. Not in person, mind you. That would have been too easy. Instead, she hijacked every communication network in the galaxy simultaneously. Every screen, every hull projector, every data feed suddenly displayed her face. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, and I noticed she didn't say subjects or servants. Citizens. For too long, the Galactic Council has ruled through fear and intimidation. They have destroyed worlds, enslaved species, and crushed anyone who dared to question their authority. In the council chamber, alarms were blaring. Technicians scrambled to cut the feed, but somehow, impossibly, they couldn't. "Today that ends," Maya continued. "Today we begin the liberation of the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through justice. Not through fear, but through hope." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "To the Council I say this. You wanted to see humanity adapt. You wanted to teach us that might makes right. Congratulations. Class is now in session." The transmission cut out, leaving us in a silence that felt like the moment before a lightning strike. "Status report," Zolt demanded. "Sir," came a trembling voice from the communications station, "we are receiving distress signals from 17 different systems. Mining operations, trading posts, military installations, they are all under attack." "By whom?" "Unknown vessels, sir. No design on file. They appear out of nowhere, strike with incredible precision, then vanish before our response forces arrive." I remember thinking that this couldn't be happening. Humans were supposed to be primitive, weak. How could they possibly coordinate attacks across multiple systems simultaneously? Then the reports started coming in. And with each one, my understanding of what we were dealing with shifted. The attacks weren't random, they were surgical. Every target had something in common. They were all connected to the Council's oppression of other species. Mining operations that had displaced native populations, trade stations that enforced exploitative contracts, military bases that kept rebellious worlds in line. "It's not just humans," I realized aloud. "They are not working alone." Zolt's tentacles stopped writhing. "Explain." "The targeting pattern, the coordination, the intelligence required to pull this off. They have help, lots of it." As if summoned by my words, another transmission appeared on our screens. This time it wasn't just Maya. She was flanked by beings I recognized from various subjugated species. Former clients of the Council who had been ground under our collective boot for generations. "The Human Defense Initiative has become something more," Maya announced. "We are now the Free Galaxy Alliance, and our message to the oppressed peoples of this galaxy is simple. You are not alone." Behind her I could see ships. Lots of ships. And they weren't just human designs. There were Thorgan cruisers, Zilithian fighters, even what looked like heavily modified Arcturus trading vessels. "How many?" Zolt whispered. Cray consulted his instruments with shaking appendages. "Best estimate, based on the attacks and ship sightings, thousands. Maybe tens of thousands." "That's impossible." "Where did they get the resources?" "The technology." "Sir," another technician interrupted, "we are receiving reports of uprisings on 47 council worlds. Local populations are overthrowing our appointed governors." "And sir," yet another voice added, "our treasury reports massive irregularities. Someone has been systematically draining our economic reserves for months." The pieces were falling into place, and the picture they formed was terrifying. "They have been planning this," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "for months, maybe longer. The diplomatic visits, the pleading, the apparent submission, it was all theater." Maya's voice continued from the speakers, "To the species of this galaxy who have suffered under Council rule, know this, your liberation has begun. To those who serve the Council willingly, you have one chance to stand down and join us." Her expression hardened. "And to the Galactic Council itself, you wanted to show us the price of defiance. Now we are going to show you the cost of oppression." The transmission ended, but this time the silence didn't last long. Alarms began blaring as attack reports flooded in from across our territory. How many fleets can we mobilize? Zolt demanded. All of them are either destroyed, missing, or engaged, Rex replied, his usual arrogance replaced by raw panic. Sir, we are looking at a coordinated assault on every major council installation in the galaxy. I was running calculations in my head, trying to process the scope of what was happening. This isn't possible, I muttered. The logistics alone, the coordination required, unless, I continued, a terrible realization dawning, they have been preparing for this longer than we thought, much longer. Zolt whirled on me. What do you mean? The mining incident on Kepler 42b. What if it wasn't just greed? What if it was a test to see how we'd respond, how we'd justify it, what our weaknesses were? The color drained from Zolt's face, or what passed for a face in his species. The diplomatic missions, I continued, pieces clicking into place like a puzzle solving itself. 57 separate visits over 3 years, always asking for justice, always being refused. What if they weren't really seeking justice? Then what were they doing? Rex demanded. Intelligence gathering, building alliances, learning our systems, our procedures, our blind spots. I felt sick. We weren't teaching them their place in the galaxy. They were teaching us ours, and that's when we heard the sound that would haunt my dreams for the rest of my life. Laughter. Human laughter. Coming from our own communication systems. The laughter stopped as abruptly as it had started, replaced by a voice I recognized but wished I didn't. Admiral Sam Torres appeared on every screen in the chamber, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him stood what looked like the command center of a massive starship, bustling with activity from dozens of different species. Hello again, counselors, Torres said with that same unsettling smile. I hope you are enjoying the show so far. Zolt was practically vibrating with rage. How are you accessing our systems? This is impossible. Is it? Torres tilted his head with mock curiosity. You know, it's funny what people will do when you offer them freedom instead of oppression. Take your head of information security, for example. Turns out she's been secretly funding refugee camps for displaced Forgan families for years. My blood went cold. Director Yenna had access to everything. Every system, every protocol, every security measure. Or your chief military strategist, Torres continued cheerfully. Amazing how quickly someone will share tactical information when you promise to reunite them with their enslaved homeworld. This is treason, Rex shrieked. No, came a new voice, and Maya stepped into frame. This is justice, and it's been a long time coming. She gestured to something off-screen, and suddenly our main display showed a tactical map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Council installations. Green dots showed Free Galaxy Alliance forces. There were a lot more green dots than red ones. Status report, Maya announced with the casual efficiency of someone reading a grocery list. 17 major shipyards have been liberated. 43 mining operations have been shut down and their workers freed. 87 military installations have either surrendered or been destroyed. Each number hit like a physical blow. And the crown jewel, Torres added with evident satisfaction, the Council's primary fleet base at Altair Prime. Would you like to see how that's going? The display switched to a live feed of what had once been our most heavily fortified position. I watched in sick fascination as ships bearing the insignia of dozens of species swarmed around the massive station like antibodies attacking an infection. Your defense forces lasted exactly 14 minutes, Maya observed. Impressive, considering they were outnumbered only 30-1. This is madness, Zolt bellowed. You cannot possibly coordinate an operation of this scale. Your species lacks the organizational capacity. Maya's smile was colder than deep space. You are right. We couldn't, but we didn't have to. Another face appeared on screen. This one I recognized with growing horror. General Korath, the legendary Zilithian military strategist who had disappeared during the siege of Beta Centauri. We'd assumed he was dead. Greetings, Council. Korath's scarred features were set in grim satisfaction. I trust you remember me. I certainly remember you. Especially the part where you ordered my homeworld sterilized for refusing to hand over our quantum technology. Behind him I could see more familiar faces. Scientists who had vanished from Council laboratories, military officers who had gone missing during routine assignments, diplomats who had simply disappeared. Every brilliant mind you silenced, Maya said softly. Every leader you eliminated, every strategist you murdered, they all had friends, colleagues, students, people who remembered their teachings and waited for the chance to honor their memory. Impossible, I whispered, but even as I said it, I knew it was true. We hadn't just been oppressing worlds, we'd been creating martyrs. And martyrs, as it turns out, inspire followers. The beautiful thing about humans, Torres added, is that we are really good at making friends, and even better at holding grudges. Alarms started blaring throughout the chamber. A technician's voice cracked with panic. Sir, Alliance forces have breached the outer defense perimeter. What forces? Zolt demanded. There are no ships in this system. Sir, they are everywhere. Coming out of hyperspace from all directions. The identification signatures, there are ships here from species I didn't even know existed. On the main screen, Maya checked what appeared to be a tactical display. Ah, right on schedule. Phase 3 is beginning. Phase 3? How many phases were there? Citizens of the galaxy. Maya's voice suddenly boomed from every speaker in council space. Today marks the end of an era. The Galactic Council, which has ruled through fear and oppression for over 2,000 years, is finished. You cannot destroy us, Rex shouted at the screen. We are the lawful government of this galaxy. Lawful? A new voice entered the conversation, and I felt my heart stop beating. It was High Judge Morden, the Council's own Chief Justice. The being responsible for legitimizing our rule for the past 4 centuries. Tell me, Rex, Morden continued, what law authorizes the extermination of civilian populations for economic gain? What statute permits slavery of entire species? What legal precedent allows for the seizure of sovereign worlds based solely on resource value? You work for us, Zolt screamed. I worked for the concept of galactic order, Morden corrected. But when that order becomes indistinguishable from tyranny, it ceases to be worthy of service. Maya nodded respectfully to the judge. The transitional government has been established with representatives from every free species in the galaxy. Elections will be held within one standard cycle to establish permanent governance. Transitional government? I found myself asking. Oh yes. Torres grinned. We are not here to rule the galaxy, Vex. We are here to free it. There's a difference. The fact that he knew my name sent chills down my spine. How long, I asked, though I dreaded the answer. How long, what? How long have you been planning this? Maya and Torres exchanged glances. Tell him, Maya said quietly. The initial planning began 137 years ago, Torres replied, shortly after your people made contact with us. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of alarms and distant weapons fire. 137 years, I repeated numbly. Your first diplomatic mission to Earth was very informative. Maya added, your ambassador was quite clear about humanity's place in the galactic hierarchy. So we started preparing. But the Kepler incident was only 3 years ago. The Kepler incident was the final test, Torres explained patiently. We needed to see how you would respond to direct provocation. Whether you would show mercy, negotiate in good faith, or reveal your true nature. You passed with flying colors. Maya added sarcastically. I thought about every interaction we'd had with humanity over the past century. Every dismissive comment, every casual threat, every demonstration of our supposedly superior technology. You were studying us, I realized, learning from the best teachers in the galaxy. Torres confirmed. You showed us exactly how power works in this corner of space. How to exploit weaknesses, how to turn allies against each other, how to make someone's strength into their vulnerability. Your greatest weakness, Maya continued, was your absolute certainty in your own superiority. You never considered that a species might pretend to be weaker than they actually were. The main display shifted to show footage from various human colonies. But these weren't the primitive agricultural settlements we thought we knew. These were massive industrial complexes, hidden beneath false surface installations. Shipyards that could have produced fleets, research facilities that made our laboratories look like children's toys. Every colony you dismissed as a farming outpost was actually a manufacturing center, Torres explained. Every trade agreement you forced on us gave us access to materials we needed. Every insult you delivered motivated another 1,000 volunteers for our cause. The mining rights you so generously granted us, Maya added with vicious sweetness, gave us legal access to rare elements across 43 systems. Amazing what you can build when you have unlimited access to quantum-grade materials. I watched footage of human ships that bore no resemblance to the crude vessels we'd seen in their official fleet. Sleek, deadly, and clearly built with technology that should have been beyond their capabilities. Borrowed? I asked weakly. Earned, Maya corrected. Every species you oppressed had something to contribute. The Thorgan had shipbuilding expertise, the Zelithians understood military tactics, the Arcturians knew trade routes, the Yelvani had cloaking technology. All it took was someone willing to treat them as equals instead of resources, Torres added. Another alarm sounded, this one different from the others. Sir, came a panicked voice from the communications station. Council forces are surrendering on all fronts. The Altair fleet has laid down arms. The Vega defense grid has shut down. Even the personal guards are requesting terms of surrender. Maya consulted her display again. Total Council military casualties so far, approximately 12,000. Total Alliance casualties 437. The numbers were staggering. We'd been utterly, completely defeated and barely anyone had died fighting. How? Zolt whispered. We offered them a choice, Maya said simply. Join us and help build something better or go down with a dying regime. Turns out when you treat people with respect instead of fear, they tend to choose hope. The remaining council members and their immediate staffs will be arrested and tried for crimes against sapient life. Judge Morden announced from his own screen, those found guilty will serve sentences appropriate to their actions. Those who cooperated with the transition will receive consideration for their assistance. I looked around the chamber at my colleagues. Zolt's tentacles had gone completely limp. Rex was staring at nothing, his usual arrogance replaced by blank shock. Cray was frantically trying to access systems that no longer responded to his commands. What happens to us? I asked. That depends, Maya replied, on whether you are willing to help clean up the mess you have made. And if we refuse, then you will spend the rest of your lives in comfortable confinement on a pleasant world where you can contemplate the consequences of your choices. Torres leaned forward. But here's the thing, Vex. We have been studying your psychological profiles for decades. We know who among you acted out of genuine malice and who was just following orders. We know who made the hard decisions and who went along with the crowd. He paused. Your analytical reports consistently recommended more moderate approaches to dealing with subject species. Your proposals for gradual integration instead of immediate subjugation were ignored by your superiors. Your warnings about the long-term consequences of oppression were dismissed. My mouth went dry. You have been watching us that long? We have been watching everyone that long, Maya confirmed. Every council session, every private meeting, every casual conversation. When you have allies in every department, information tends to flow freely. So what happens to me, I asked. Though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. You have a choice, Torres replied. Help us understand how council systems work so we can transition them peacefully and you can be part of building something better. Refuse and enjoy your retirement. Before I could respond, the chamber doors burst open, not with violence but with a simple mechanical hiss. Human soldiers entered, but they weren't alone. Representatives from dozens of species walked with them, including many I recognized as former council clients. Counselor Zolt, Maya's voice continued from the speakers, you are under arrest for crimes against sapient life, including but not limited to genocide, slavery, and systematic oppression of civilian populations. Zolt didn't resist as the guards approached him. What would have been the point? Counselor Rex, you are similarly charged and will be processed accordingly. Rex actually tried to run, which would have been pathetic if it wasn't so predictable. He made it about 3 steps before a Thurgan officer simply picked him up and carried him out like luggage. Analyst Vex, Maya said, and I straightened despite myself, you are hereby offered a position with the Transitional Authority as a systems integration specialist. Your first assignment will be helping establish fair and representative governments for the 14,000 worlds formerly under council control. I stared at the screen where her image waited patiently for my answer. Why? I asked finally. Because someone has to do it right this time, she replied. And despite everything, you actually tried to do it right before. We need people who understand both systems and conscience. I thought about Kepler 442b, about 30,000 dead civilians, about all the worlds we'd stripped bare and all the species we'd ground under our collective boot. Then I thought about the possibility of helping fix it. I accept, I said quietly. Maya smiled, and for the first time since this entire nightmare began, it was a genuine expression of warmth. Welcome to the Free Galaxy Alliance, Vex. Your first lesson starts now. In our organization, everyone gets a voice, even former enemies who choose to do better. As I was led from the chamber by guards who treated me with more respect than I probably deserved, I couldn't help but reflect on the cosmic irony of it all. We'd wanted to teach humanity about power, about knowing their place in the galaxy. Mission accomplished. They'd learned those lessons very well indeed. And then they'd taught the entire galaxy something we'd forgotten in our arrogance, that true strength doesn't come from crushing those beneath you. It comes from lifting them up to stand beside you. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the Free Galaxy Alliance had begun. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I couldn't help but wonder what other lessons humanity had learned that they hadn't shared yet. Something told me we were about to find out. After all, they were very good students and excellent teachers.